Tonight, Canadians standing strong in the face of growing tariffs. Extended uncertainty with all eyes on our economy.
What we lost in American visitation, we're making up with domestic travel.
How the trade war is playing into the hands of the hospitality industry. Plus, Canada's painkiller pinch.
This is going to have to do for the next 2 to 3 weeks.
What's causing the shortage at pharmacies and how long it could last. And one of the largest festivals in North America takes over Toronto.
Every year I get to celebrate my friends and family at my favorite time of the year.
Just how many people flooded the streets of Canada's largest city for the Caribbean Carnival?
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. The lack of a trade deal this week has once again extended the extreme uncertainty for Canada's economy. It's weighing heavily on businesses and consumers. The growing divide between the two countries could create some major losses in the tourism industry with fewer Americans visiting. But as CTV's Kamal Karmali tells us, for now, it appears Canadians and other tourists are making up for it.
One of Canada's biggest attractions seeing a big drop in American visitors.
You want a bag for everything?
But that's not bothering Niagara Falls store owner Nick Cupolo. In fact, he's cashing in even more.
In terms of revenue, when I look at the numbers and month to month, year to year, it's been more busy in the shop this year than July of last year.
Busier because even though they've lost a big chunk of their U.S. customers, other visitors have more than made up for it.
People from Toronto, other parts of Canada have visited the shop.
Niagara Falls' mayor says typically Americans make up about a quarter of their visitors. Not this year, though. Jim, how much has American visitation dropped off by this year?
Right now, we're still seeing a strong American visitation, but it's off by about 10 to 15%.
But now instead seeing more tourists from other parts of the world and from other provinces.
We're anticipating it's going to end up leveling out and averaging up. What we lost in American visitation, we're making up with domestic travel, with Canadians and with international.
Wineries like this one in the Niagara region are actually benefiting from the worsening trade tensions between Canada and the United States. That's because more people are buying local wines.
Folks don't want to drink American wine, and people will be outspoken with that.
Here at Pearl Morissette Winery and Restaurant, dubbed one of the best in the country, the trade war has not only heated up demand among Canadian travelers, but there are actually more Americans booking tables because their buck goes much further up here.
We're seeing, in some cases, 25% of our dining room is guests coming over from the U.S.
So 25% compared to how much last year?
Yeah, I mean, maybe 10%. Realistically. So yeah, pretty big uptick for sure, yeah.
A big uptick of Americans here, combined with a strong showing of support from Canadian and international visitors, is enough for this border city to ride it out until the trade war is over. Kamal Karmali, CTV News, Niagara Falls.
The bump in tariffs has many wondering why the two sides haven't been able to broker a deal. One former trade advisor to the White House who spoke to CTV News says a lot of it may have to do with Ottawa's approach to the American president.
There are some issues that the president has continued to talk about over and over again, including dairy and including fentanyl. And for whatever reason, whatever proposals the Canadians are bringing to the United States just haven't landed on those two issues. And I do sense when I talk to the U.S. side and U.S. negotiators, a continued sense of frustration.
Kellyanne Shaw did point out that Canada and the U.S. still have one of the biggest trading relationships in the world and has no doubt that however long it takes, the dispute will work out for both economies. The impact of U.S. tariffs is being felt more deeply across this country. In Quebec, layoffs have begun, and at least one company has closed, blaming the weight of the trade war. CTV's Sweeta Rassi on the fragile lumber business in that province.
Talks of tariffs are stirring up some strong reactions.
Because Trump is a dummy.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order increasing tariffs on Canadian goods. It went from 25% to 35%, targeting products not covered by the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreements. For many Montrealers, the latest news is a reminder to buy local.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always tried to go for more Canadian products, but this just further emboldens it.
To make our economy stronger, and we all have something to do with it.
As the trade war intensifies, some companies in Quebec are paying the price. On Facebook, a lumber mill in Saint-Michel-des-Saints, 2 hours north of Montreal, says it's letting go of 250 employees and suspending its activities until October. The reason, they say, tariffs. Another company based in St. George, known for manufacturing semi-trailers, is planning to lay off more than 100 workers. One economist says more companies could potentially face the same fate.
At the local, regional level, we can see more closures, more unemployed.
Julian Karagesian says in Quebec, it's the aluminum and steel industries that are hit the hardest, as tariffs are already high in those sectors.
The 50% tariffs on steel, and now there's 50% tariffs on certain copper products. Those are hurting more.
On X, Premier François Legault wrote, the tariffs are harmful to businesses and workers, and it's important for Quebec to diversify its markets. Karagesian agrees.
President Trump is shaking up the system, and we have an opportunity in this crisis to build out our export markets and to build a Canadian economy once more.
As for how Canada is dealing with the negotiations, reactions are mixed.
Canada does not have the right people in place to respond to this situation.
I trust, the government that they will do the best.
A lot of concern and questions as Quebec and Canada face economic uncertainty. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News.
South of the border, demonstrators took to the streets in many states today, protesting moves made by President Trump. Dubbed Rage Against the Regime, the demonstration saw protesters gather across several states to denounce the Trump administration, the president's global tariff stance, as well as his immigration policies and cuts to federal programs, among the issues drawing protesters. Several Midwestern states are under warnings of unhealthy air for at least a third day due to smoke from Canadian wildfires. Drone footage from Iowa shows the hazy skies caused by wildfire smoke blowing into the U.S. Air quality alerts are in effect for that state, as well as Illinois, where haze is blanketing the Lollapalooza Festival in Chicago. At least 5 other states are under air quality warnings. That number is expected to grow tomorrow. Air quality is being impacted across a huge swath of this country as well, as we see more active wildfires. In BC, the number has surpassed 140, following more than 48,000 lightning strikes. Some evacuation orders have been expanded, while on the opposite side of the country, burn bans are in effect to mitigate the risk. CTV's Sarah Plowman on how people across Canada are handling the timber dry conditions and fire concerns.
Evacuation orders expanded Saturday for homeowners threatened by a wildfire northwest of Nanaimo as that fire continues to grow.
We saw more challenging fire behavior as the winds drove the fire to the top of the ridge that it's currently burning on.
Dozens more fires started in the last 24 hours, most because of lightning. But cooler temperatures and increased humidity is expected to help. In fact, what's burning south of Lytton, BC grew minimally.
I can hardly even smell smoke in the air today, so that's a very good thing.
Lytton is on an evacuation alert. Most of the village was lost to fire in 2021.
4 years later, the smell of smoke, the sound of helicopters, the sight of any kind of flame, brings a lot of anxiety for so many people.
Wildfire smoke from the prairies has prompted air quality statements and warnings across the country, from BC to Quebec. In Nova Scotia, a province-wide burn ban will last until mid-October or until conditions improve. The fine for rule breakers, $25,000.
No, we have security here at night, and they always check all the campers, make sure that they're not burning any wood or anything.
It's been hot and dry. Earlier this week, a wildfire started in Tantallon, Nova Scotia, not far from where fire destroyed more than 150 homes 2 years ago. That fire is now under control. Despite the burn ban, propane fire pits like this are still allowed.
Probably tonight we'll sit around and have that and maybe sing and have fun.
The dryness isn't just impacting people at campgrounds, but also farmers.
You know, we just keep hoping for rain, and we've had very little, if any, over the past several weeks. And
that hope being felt from coast to coast as Canadians look for relief. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Oxford, Nova Scotia.
The U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East paid a visit to Israel after being the first high-profile U.S. official to travel to Gaza since the war began. Steve Witkoff met for 3 hours with families of hostages, telling them the first priority is bringing them home. On Friday, he, along with U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee, inspected a U.S. and Israel-backed aid distribution center in Gaza. This comes as the White House confirms Witkoff is working on a final plan to speed up deliveries to the region. His Gaza trip is being called a publicity stunt by critics. Hundreds of thousands of young people gathered today in a field outside Rome for Pope Leo's first big encounter with the next generation of Catholics. The crowd had gathered for hours ahead of the pontiff's evening prayer. The event was one of the highlights of the Pope's week-long Jubilee of Youth, which wraps up on Sunday. 4 astronauts who set off for the stars yesterday have made a successful arrival at the International Space Station. They were greeted with warm embraces from the crew they'll be replacing, having made the journey to the ISS on board a SpaceX rocket in just 15 hours. Travel in eastern Canada is a little more affordable as Ottawa this week cut tolls on the Confederation Bridge and fares on Atlantic ferries. That's good news for industries hoping to now slash millions in shipping costs. CTV's Maria Saru on how much this could help one of PEI's most famous exports.
Every one of these PEI potatoes will be packaged, put on a truck, and sent across the Confederation Bridge. With tolls trimmed this week, producers are set to pocket savings as inflation piles on pressure.
Anytime you get a 75% reduction in the cost of something, it does help the bottom line.
Ray Keenan, Rollo Bay Holdings co-owner, says it cost roughly $85 before the cut for each tractor trailer to leave the island. On Friday, Canada implemented a $20 flat rate for all vehicles, shrinking what some call a transport tax.
It was quite refreshing to see something going down, because when's the last time you've heard that? You know, everything is going up.
PEI is Canada's largest potato producing province. The industry contributes more than $1.3 billion annually to the local economy. The PEI Potato Board estimates 94% of the island's spuds leave by bridge or ferry, and the new rates will save the industry $2 million in trucking bills alone.
Farmers won't just cut costs on what rolls out, but also what rolls in. This tractor, other machine parts, and crop production products all had to cross the bridge to get here. And now it'll be at a lower price.
Board Chairman Donald Stavert says it lightens the load.
The best part about this is some of the trucking companies would avoid coming to PEI because of the tolls. We're hoping that they will be able to come this way now.
He adds tariffs still loom large, but on the Keenan family farm, fields are flowering and fresh potatoes pulled from island soil will travel far for less. Maria Saru, CTV News, Surrey, Prince Edward Island.
Coming up, a major concern for Canadian pharmacists.
We're trying to avoid a squeeze on inventory, but unfortunately we're already there.
Why some popular painkillers are in short supply across the country. A shortage of popular painkillers across this country is leading to an unbearable situation for many Canadians. Here's CTV's Kathy Lee on why it could be weeks before the supply is back on shelves.
Pain is his constant companion, a shadow that clings to every step. It all started 5 years ago after an accident at work.
I fell 14 feet onto the concrete floor, hit the wall, and cut my head open.
That fall, leaving Tony Heimbrock with chronic body pain and relentless migraines, each movement a balancing act between agony and endurance.
This is my supply of Percocet.
Painkillers are his lifeline.
It's going to have to do for the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Because there is no more across the country. Health Canada confirming there are currently shortages of certain prescription drugs containing acetaminophen with codeine or oxycodone due to manufacturing issues with one major supplier, Teva Canada Limited, which is putting pressure on other manufacturers and on pharmacies.
We're trying to avoid a squeeze on inventory, but unfortunately we're already there. We don't have any stock right now, and so it's just a matter of finding alternatives and trying to be proactive.
For Heimbrock, an alternative pain medication isn't possible because of another health condition. He was prescribed this injection only for migraines, but not his body pain.
It's very unbearable. It really is.
The Canadian Pharmacists Association says while the supply situation is expected to improve by mid-August, people can expect supply constraints to continue until the end of September.
To get some release there.
Until then, Heimbrock waits, counting pills, counting days, and counting on a system that, for now, has left him hanging by a thread. Health Canada says it's working closely with manufacturers, healthcare providers, provinces and territories to monitor the situation and explore other options to increase access. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
Still ahead, saving a cherished family member. Why the City of Montreal says Timmy the pig must find a new home. A 6-year-old boy is speaking out after his scary encounter with an octopus at an aquarium in Texas.
It felt like my mom and the octopus were playing tug-of-war with my arm.
Leo went to the aquarium where a giant Pacific octopus lives. When he touched it, the tentacles wrapped tightly around his arm. His mom struggled to pull her son away, but it took 3 employees around 5 minutes to pry it off the boy. The sea creature left numerous suction cup marks on his arm. The aquarium has not commented on the incident. At 11 years old and 130 pounds, Timmy the mini pig is a beloved neighbor in a Montreal suburb. But officials have now ordered his owner to get rid of him by the end of this weekend. Christine Long tells us why and what people are trying to do to save him.
Give me your hoof. Give me your hoof. Thank you.
That's Sandra Propetto and the love of her life, Timothy the mini pig.
He's my baby. I know him so well. I mean, I had him since he was tiny. He fit in my hand. I'm the only mommy he knows.
Timothy is much bigger now and quite docile.
You know, they're domestic pigs. They're bred to be domestic pigs.
They have more than 40,000 followers on social media and lots of LaSalle neighbors who visit in person.
He's not hurting anybody. Look at him. He's innocent. He's so sweet. He's loving. He's just so adorable. I just want to give him a big old hug.
The attraction of the neighborhood. And he's very quiet. He minds his own business. He doesn't bother nobody.
2 weeks ago, an inspector visited Propetto and told her Timmy has to go because he's not registered. In 2018, the City of Montreal passed a bylaw allowing owners who already had a mini pig to keep their pets as part of the grandfather clause, as long as they were registered. Propetto didn't know and missed the deadline.
I was so confused because I have all his documents from the breeder. I have his birth certificate. I have, it's a registered breeder from Quebec.
Now, neighbors are signing a petition in the hopes that Timmy can stay.
With the community, with his mom, this is where he belongs. This is where he's supposed to stay. You can't take him away. It's like taking away a child.
In an email to CTV, the borough of LaSalle said they are upholding Montreal's bylaw and have received some complaints about Timothy. And that means there's little chance to have an exception to the rule. Propetto asked LaSalle about the complaints and was told she needed to file for an access to information first.
If I would have to rehome him to a farm, he wouldn't like that. I mean, he's used to sleeping in a bed with big covers over him. He's used to me tucking him in at night. I know that sounds crazy.
Propetto still hopes for a reprieve for the big fella, who, she says, is the equivalent of 70 years old in human years. Christine Long, CTV News.
Still ahead, celebrating the sights and sounds of the Caribbean. What thousands of tourists consider the highlight of the largest cultural celebration in North America. Another podium finish, but not the one Summer McIntosh was hoping for today, as her goal for 5 gold medals in 5 races at the World Swimming Championships came up short.
What an effort, responding to the challenge, and Ledecky wins the gold again. A 7-times champion in this event. Pallister takes the silver, McIntosh the bronze.
A 3rd place finish in the 800-meter freestyle, but the Toronto native had won gold in her previous 3 events. She was vying to tie Michael Phelps by winning 5 individual gold medals at these World Championships. McIntosh will continue her quest for a gold medal in the 400-meter individual medley tomorrow. We leave you tonight with the sounds of Caribbean music as the city of Toronto comes alive for one of North America's largest festivals and Grand Parade. CTV's Rahim Ladani on the celebration and deeper message behind the big event.
Big smiles, lots of bass, and of course colorful costumes have taken over the city.
Every year I get to celebrate my friends and family at my favorite time of the year, Carnival in Toronto.
I'm a Carnival man. Carnival in Trinidad, Carnival in Toronto.
With the sounds of steel pan, soca, and calypso echoing through the streets, the 58th annual Toronto Caribbean Carnival Grand Parade is expected to draw millions of spectators and participants along Lakeshore Boulevard.
Our job is to make sure that Toronto, Canada, appreciates the work that the Caribbean community does. We contribute in this festival only, over $500 million in economic impact.
We will continue our commitment at the city for the funding that it requires to make sure that festivals and Carnival is here to stay.
It just shows off the incredible Caribbean community, how diverse we are here in Ontario. And I say that to our colleagues south of the border. We are the strongest, most united country anywhere in the world.
From the flavors of Caribbean cuisine, including stuffed cocoa bread with callaloo, to high-energy masqueraders, the theme of this year's festival is Take Me Home, bringing people back to their roots, culture, and community during the month of August, which in Ontario has been proclaimed Emancipation Month.
Freedom from years of slavery and bondage. That's why we come out and we celebrate this carnival, because all islands are represented here to feel free in Ontario and the city of Toronto.
The Grand Parade is the marquee event of the Toronto Caribbean Carnival, with more festivities planned through the entire weekend. Rahim Ladani, CTV News.
Looks like a lot of fun. That is our newscast for this Saturday night. I'm Heather Butts. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.